Hey, it's Brandy and Lindsay, and this is Real Therapy Gone Wrong, where we talk about therapy and mental health representation in movies and television. While we are licensed therapists in real life, this show does not constitute therapy. Today, we are discussing the very serious movie Bad Moms Christmas, which can be viewed on Netflix or Amazon Prime. Take it away, Lindsay.
Yeah, this was a fun one to watch. I mean, definition of a hot mess, but entertaining to say the least. And just like a quick summary of what the movie is about. I think I literally copy and pasted this from some website that has the movie summary. Um, but the movie is about underappreciated and overburdened moms Amy, Kiki, and Carla. They are rebelling against the challenges and expectations of Christmas because the movie kind of talks about how Christmas is a lot of pressure for moms, which I do think is can be true, right? Depending on your household. Um, and as if creating the perfect holiday for their families isn't hard enough, they have to do it while hosting and entertaining their own respective mothers when they come to visit. And so this movie is very much about like the three moms in this movies and then their mothers as well and their relationships. And so the movie starts with Amy, who's played by Mila Kunis. And she's like in her house and the house is a mess. It looks like a party's been there. And then a camel is also walking in the house. And so you're wondering you're like, what happened here? And then it kind of goes back in time and then leads you up to this moment of this party happening in her house. Um, and then we see the next mom, Kiki, who's played by Kristen Bell, and her mom, Sandy, who is played by Cheryl Hines. So, Kiki's mom, Sandy, is a very, and Brandy, maybe you have a way to describe this too, very codependent with Kiki. Like, what is basically up her ass all the time. And
Like,
it's
I love the scene when she gets there and she's smelling Kiki's hair and like really taking her in. Like, this is my favorite mother-daughter pairing of the movie for sure.
Oh yeah, she's smelling her hair and it's like it almost is like when you haven't had your favorite meal in 2 months and you finally have it, like that's how she treats Kiki. And it's driving Kiki crazy, like you can tell. Um and then we go forward. So really we're kind of like we're introduced to the moms. The next mom is Carla, who's played by Kathryn Hahn. Um, she works in a spa and does like like waxes, right? And so you kind of see her working. Um, she is just getting home, and her mom, Isis, which is like what the
Hilarious.
fuck kind of name, right? But her mom, Isis, who's played by
For a
Susan
white
Sarandon,
lady.
for a white lady, yeah,
Right, yes.
Susan Sarandon named Isis in this movie. Um, and so, Isis is dropped off, and Carla
By
is
a
like,
trucker.
Carla, yeah, by a trucker. Carla's so excited. We're gonna get to spend time together. And Isis doesn't even know that it's Christmas. And so we'll learn more about this dynamic as we go along. Um, Going back to Amy, her mom is Ruth, who's played by Christine Baranski. Ruth is very critical. Um, Her mom, Ruth is also very like, I think she got the kids Xboxes. She's very much, I'm gonna go above and beyond for Christmas. Everything has to be perfect. And she's very critical that Amy is not taking that approach to Christmas. She also drops a bomb on Amy saying, I'm gonna host a party here. And so 184 people are gonna be coming. And so Amy is like, what the fuck?
And Kenny
Like,
G.
yeah, and Kenny G. Yeah. So she's like, what the fuck? And it's also like funny, not funny, because Amy has a boyfriend named Jesse, and Ruth, her mom, treats Jesse like the help. Like, hey, can you grab my bags and bring them up? And she acts like she's never met him, but there's like a running joke throughout the movie, like where Jesse's like, you've met me multiple times, like you know who I am. She acts like she doesn't know who he is. Um, and so then we go forward and it's the three of them, Kiki, Carla, and Amy. They're at the mall and they're talking about their moms and they're like, why do we put so much stress on ourselves for Christmas? Christmas should be fun. Let's just enjoy it. They get drunk at the food court, which I've never done before. When I think of a mall food court, I think of like you get a sandwich and a soda and you like move on. Their whole table's filled with bottles of beer.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever been to a food court where you could get a bottle of beer either. So,
Yeah, it was very, but they get drunk and then they're like dancing with like the Santa in the mall and they're just acting like a mess in this mall and they end up stealing a tree from Lady Footlocker, which is hilarious. Um, they steal this big tree and the tree goes in Amy's house. And so in Amy's house, there's the tree, her kids. It's like her kids and her boyfriend Jesse has kids. They're kind of talking about how they just want to skip all the annoying Christmassy stuff and they just want to enjoy being at home, right? Doing like Christmas traditions at home as a family, watching movies, stuff like that. And her mom, Ruth, who is this perfectionist and has to go all out and above, takes issue with this, right? Like, your kids deserve a better Christmas than that. And this next part, I think you and I have talked about this before, but it goes to Kiki's house. And Kiki and her husband Kent are about to, they're like about to have sex or they're starting the process of having sex. And then they hear her mom in the corner saying, do you remember exactly what she said
no,
to
her
every?
mom sneezes and
That's
Kiki says,
right.
"Bless you." And
That's
then
right.
they turn on the light and they're like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, hilarious. Because, sneeze, oh, bless you. And then they're like, wait a second, why is she in the room with us? And so, Sandy is just saying, like, it's so important to bang each other. Kent, I'm so glad you're able to get an erection again. Oh, he's so much bigger than your dad was. Your dad liked when I tickled his balls. Like, she is just going on and on. And Kiki and Kent are in the bed, like, get out, right? Like, get out of our room. Um, and then something you find out, and maybe Sandy said it earlier, but like Kiki's dad, Sandy's husband, has previously passed away. And so I think the indication is like this might be her first Christmas without him or something to that effect. Anyways, so when she mentions like, oh, your dad liked when I did all this stuff, the dad is no longer here, right? Which will come up again. Um, going back to Amy's mom, I'm giving all these examples to kind of give the insight of like the dysfunction between these women and their moms. So Amy's mom, Ruth, who is kind of wants to control Christmas, she redecorates Amy's house. Um, Very fancy, I should mind you. I was even thinking like, how much did this cost for her to hire a whole team to redecorate the house and have actual partridges like flying out of a box in front of the house,
Yeah,
right?
super fancy.
Very, very fancy. And so then we go back to Carla, Amy, and Kiki, and they're talking and they're encouraging Amy, like, you're gonna have to speak up to your mom.
Is this when they're making the gingerbread houses?
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's like Carla has like the gingerbread like dick cookie or something. Yeah. Yeah. So that part's funny too. So there's like, they're encouraging Amy to speak up to her mom. And there's always this like, throughout the majority of the movie, there's always this back and forth of like, Ruth does not want to let go of the reins. Like, no matter what Amy says, Ruth is like, well, no, this is how Christmas like should look and won't let go of it. And then you find out that Ruth, like, her mother was awful, right? And I think she says something along the lines of like, my mom called me a whore, sent me to boarding school in Croatia. And you just get this little insight of how hard her mom was on her. And then
Hmm.
she is hard on Amy as well, right? It gets passed down. But yeah, we should talk about the different types of moms because Ruth is very critical and kind of, it seems like she has high expectations of Amy to a
Really
very
like impossible
unhealthy,
to meet. Yeah.
yeah, to an unhealthy degree. And then you've got Sandy, who is for sure codependent, overly attached, um, very upset if Kiki ever wants some space. Like even healthy space feels like a slight to her.
Hmm.
And then you've got Isis, who is Carla's mom, who is like neglectful and not there for her. So very different profiles, right? In all of the moms.
For sure. And like they take it to the extreme in the movie, I think, to prove the point, but there those really are three types of moms. I mean, there are more types of moms, but those are, I know, a lot of mom types that you and I might see
Mm-hmm.
in our practice. And personally, like Lindsay is getting ready to embark on her motherhood journey, but I'm an old mom. My youngest kid is 18 now, and I remember when my kids were little trying to do that whole like we have to do all these traditions and it has to be this way. And luckily, at some point, I decided that I was allowed to enjoy Christmas too. Like I had my bad mom's moment when my kids were pretty little still.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really grateful for that because I freed myself from doing a bunch of that shit that I don't even know why we were repeating those patterns. Um,
Yeah. And if you have a partner, they can do some shit too. You know, like
a 100%.
I remember growing up and my mom was always in that, like she had to make all the things happen. Um, Even with pictures, like there's kind of a and there's truth to this. Like looking at family photo albums and my mom not being in a lot of the pictures because she's the one always taking the pictures, right?
Mhm.
Even that. And I've decided, I mean, of course, I don't know what motherhood will look like for me, so I have an idea in my head, but I'm not going to be the only one like in charge of stuff like that. Like we're either going to take it easy. If my husband wants to make something happen, I don't want to make it happen, then you do you. And even with the pictures, I'm just gonna ask for him or someone else to take pictures so I can be in the pictures with my kid, right? So you're absolutely right. Moms do feel that pressure. And good on you for eventually deciding, fuck that.
Yeah, I don't I don't want to participate in that. Like it's my holiday too, and I don't want to look back and not have enjoyed any of it because I'm just fussing at my kids to comb their hair, whatever all of the 57 things are, going all the places on Christmas Day and just all of that stuff. So,
Yeah, for sure. So, uh, going back to Ruth really quickly and about like you kind of see over time in the movie, you see a little bit of like humility within her. Like she comes off as such a cold, critical person, but she is really more than that. Um, but then she speaks to like her grandkids, Amy's kids, like this is their first Christmas without their father. Cause like I guess like Amy and their father divorced. And so she's really wanting it to be perfect. She's telling her husband, I think his name's Hank, she's telling him, like, the reason I want this to be so perfect for them is because it's the first time without their father and blah, blah, blah. So there's like a genuinely good intention behind it, no matter how it comes out and how
yeah, she
controlling.
tells him that while he's ironing her pajamas. I think that's really
Yes.
funny.
And then he hugs her and she's like, "You're wrinkling my pajamas." Like even that has to be like perfect, even though they're about to go to sleep. It's so funny. Um, Fast forward to Carla, because again, she works in a spa, she does waxes, and Carla is really a funny character. She's talking to herself and she's like, "No more pussies, please, no more pussies." Like she's tired of doing the waxes. And then it ends up not being a woman at all who comes in. It's this guy named Ty Swindle, which is also like a hilarious name to me. That he's this hot fireman stripper in the movie. And he's there to get his balls waxed. And she's like all about it because he's so hot and like he's really into her. And he says that he's doing a sexy Santa competition and invites her to come with him. So later on in the movie, we see her and the girls at this Sexy Santa competition. Next, here's when we get into the therapist's office. Okay. And Wanda Sykes plays the therapist, and she, of course, as always, is
Chef's
hilarious.
kiss.
Yeah,
Yes.
hilarious. And it's Kiki and her mom in therapy. And Sandy wants to be closer, and Kiki wants space. So, what's so funny is that uh, Sandy is saying, like, you're going to be my best friend forever. Like, that's what she, like, when she had a daughter, that's what she thought. Like, I have this daughter, we're going to be best friends forever. And Kiki says, is that normal that a mom would think that? And Wanda Sykes' character, she's like, we don't use the word normal here, which cracked me up because in therapy we try not to. Like, it's like, what is
Yes.
normal? She's like, we don't use the word normal here. And then, like, as Sandy kind of looks away, Wanda looks at Kiki and gives this head nod of like, or a head shake of like, no, that's not
No.
fucking normal. But I'm not gonna say that, but I'm gonna shake my head no. And then like or I think Kiki says they went to prom together, her and her mom. It's very insightful to how like close and like unhealthy of a relationship that is. Kiki's starting to speak up, like, I want space from you. Sandy is saying, why are you doing this to me? And then Sandy says, I have cancer. I have heart cancer. She's clearly lying just to
Mm.
get some, and it works. Like she says it, and then Kiki's like, oh my God, I feel so terrible. Like, of course I'll be there for you. And then she says, oh, I'm lying. And this is kind of this back and forth of like the dynamic that they're in. And Kiki mentions, shouldn't we have some boundaries here? Right? Sandy leaves, goes to the bathroom, but she doesn't come back because she doesn't want to have boundaries. She's like, I'm over this conversation. And then I think the funniest part is Kiki asks the therapist, like, what's wrong with her? And the therapist says, you made your mom crazy, right? She goes in this whole spiel about like, she gave birth to you and you gave her a hard time and she had to adjust to you. And like, if you're wondering what's wrong with her, like, it's you, motherfucker. Like, you're the reason, you're what's wrong with her. Obviously, we would not say that in a real therapy space. And I know this is a comedy movie. It's not really meant to be like accurate. Um, but I don't think that's like true either. I mean, obviously, like going through motherhood, it does change you. But it's also not an excuse to expect zero space from your adult children, you know?
Well, and I think this is something that maybe is changing a little bit in society and for good reason. Like I chose to have kids. That's on me. They don't owe me anything because I
Mm-hmm.
chose to have them and raise them.
Yeah.
And it's a privilege that they still want to hang out with me. They want to share things about themselves with me, but they don't owe me that. And so I think this rant that Wanda Sykes does is really funny,
Yeah.
but also I don't think we should put that on kids. I don't think that's really
No.
true.
No.
Like I don't expect my kids to be my best friends and I hope we stay close forever. I think that is not like having bad boundaries or codependent, but I'm not going to sneak into their bedrooms and watch them fuck their partners or
No.
in a serious way get a sweatshirt with their face on it, which is something else Sandy does in the movie, or like pajamas with their faces, and
Yeah.
which is a funny joke, but she's not doing it in a joking way in this movie.
No, she's doing it like in a very obsessive, like I'm obsessed with you kind of way. And it's really, really weird. I think you're right. Like when you have kids, you don't have kids in order to create a new best friend.
Right.
Like you're raising them to eventually become their own person and to have their own life. And I think you can be close to your parents and still be respectful of your own life as well, right? There's a way to make that
Sure.
happen. Um, so then we go, so there's that therapy scene. And then, we go back to Ruth or Amy and her mom, Ruth. And there's the caroling cup that Ruth really wants to win, which I guess means like you're like the best carolers or whatever. But she hires a bunch of people to help them be the best at caroling. And Amy thinks that that's crazy, which of course I'm with Amy. It's like you want to win this caroling cup so bad that you would hire this like huge group of professional singers to come out and sing with us, and then they have to go to 300 houses to win this caroling cup. They do win it, but again, it's very indicative of Ruth has a vision of how
Mm-hmm.
Christmas should look, and she's going to make it happen. And then we go to the sexy Santa competition. Very, very funny. Ty Swindle is very attractive. But then Carla's mom, Isis, shows up and starts dancing with Ty or the sexy Santa they're all on like the bar. They're on top of the bar dancing in this competition. She comes and starts dancing with him in a very sexy, close,
She licks his chest at
sexual,
one point.
huh?
She licks his chest at one point.
Yeah, yeah, it's very sexual. And then she falls off the bar and like has a concussion, and because Carla's supposed to spend time with Ty after the competition, and she tells him no so she can take care of her mom. Um, they Carla and like something you learn about Carla and her mom is that her mom has a tendency to only like show up or reach out when she needs money.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to really bond though. And Isis says something like, you know, I really think we should spend more time together. That's what Carla really wants. She's like, "Oh my God, yeah, like please." And then eventually gives in and gives her money. And then you see a scene where Carla's like, "Mom, where are you?" Like looking for her in the house, and she's already gone. She left a note, like already gone, right? So it seems like the same MO, and she's very upset by it. Then to um we go back to Kiki and Sandy. Sandy drops the bomb that she is moving in next door. Bought the house next door. And
Surprise!
yeah, yeah. And this causes a fight between them. And Kiki says, like, I need a life separate from yours. And Sandy says, I don't want a life separate from yours, which is very honest, very clear and honest. I do not want a life separate from yours. That's not going to work. And then she says, like, why are you doing this to me? So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, Kiki wanting space is a direct slight against Sandy in Sandy's mind. Why are you doing this to me? Um, so there's rifts happening here, right? It's like we get this slew of like moms are in the picture, things are happening. Carla's mom leaves once she got the money. Kiki and Sandy have this fight. Not happy that she bought the house next door. And then we go back to Amy's house where there's like this big party. And this is where the camel comes in from the beginning. Because her Amy and her mom previously spoke about, hey, I don't want to have this party. I want to have a mellow Christmas. Ruth said, okay, totally understand, got it, and went against those wishes anyways. So there's like this huge party with a ton of people in her house. Um, Kenny G is there
That's
playing live
right.
music. And Ruth is like, "You're not going to kick anyone out. You're not going to kick Kenny G out." And she's like, "Well, just watch me." And she's basically like, "Fuck you, Kenny G. Get out of my house." Like very, very like, "I need you out of my house. Get the fuck out." Kicks everyone out. They have this big fight, and Amy tells her mom, "I need you out of my life. Like, just get out of my life." And her kids are really upset because they just recently went through the divorce. So there, I think Amy's daughter said, first you kick dad out, now you kick grandma out. We love grandma. Like, you're only doing this for you, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking about us. Um, and then they all like all of the moms, the older moms, Isis, Sandy, and Ruth, they all go to church and they start calling each other out, which is really funny to see, but also nice to see. They're all telling each other like, you think you're the perfect mom, you're pretty fucked up yourself.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then this next scene I really loved a lot. Amy's dad, Hank, who's played by Peter Gallagher, she's talking to him about how frustrated she is with her mom. And he says, Ruth is one of the most insecure people I've ever met. And Amy's like, that doesn't make any sense. She seems so confident and has to always be right. And he goes, no, she's really insecure. Her mom made her feel worthless. And she's most insecure about being a mom. Like she asks me all the time, did I do a good job with Amy? Did I totally screw her up? And I think it's an insightful moment for Amy to learn that her mom is more complicated than just the
Mm.
controlling bitch that might come across. And then she goes to the church. She says, I think you're a great mom. They apologize to each other. It's like a very sweet moment. They clean the house together and they go back to the original decorations to keep the mellow Christmas, which is very sweet. And then we see Kiki and her mom making up. Sandy shows up with the pajamas with Kiki's face on it and says, I'm selling the house next door. I'm gonna go back to, whatever town I live in. And then she says, I just really miss your dad on Christmas. So maybe that's part of why I'm wanting to spend so much time with you, because I'm lonely. And then Carla's mom, Isis, comes back to her house, says, I shouldn't have left like that. I got a job. I'm going to pay you back. And so they make up. And then they're all eating at Amy's house. Ty Swindle shows up in hilarious fashion. Carla's like, what are you doing here? Like, how did you find me? He goes, I just looked for you. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So they have like their little, like, they're about to go have sex. And then the movie ends with the three older moms going to Vegas together because it's like a callback to earlier in the movie. Kiki's telling Sandy, because Sandy's like, well, what am I supposed to do if I can't spend time with you? And she's like, get some friends, go to Vegas, see Wayne Newton before he dies. I don't
Hmm.
fucking know, like do something. So now the three older moms are going to Vegas to see Wayne Newton before he dies. So we see them get in the taxi on their way to the airport. And that's how the movie ends.
Amazing. Definitely not going to win, or it was 2017, didn't win an Oscar, but super fun and campy. And as a mom, or anybody that's had a mom, which is all of us, there's something for everyone that you can recognize in this movie and how the
Hmm.
characters, I mean, it's a funny movie, but I really do love what they did with the characters and the character development and the differentiation of these adult daughters, I think
Yeah.
is lovely.
Well, and the cast is so good. I mean, it's such a stacked cast. Like, how could you go wrong, right? So they all did, I think, a great job playing their characters in the movie.
And if you watch it, be sure to watch the credits because there is some very ridiculous dancing at the end. So,
Yes.
okay. If you enjoyed this episode of Real Therapy Gone Wrong, please like, review, subscribe, and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. This is our last episode before our hiatus for Lindsay to have a baby and take maternity leave. We will be back in the spring with new episodes. If you'd like Real Therapy Gone Right, we are two licensed therapists. Contact us if you'd like to learn more about our work or want to hire us. You can find Lindsay at relationshipmatterstx.com or Brandy at sellerscounseling.com. If you're making a movie or TV show and do not want to find us dissing your show on our podcast, we are available to consult on your project, so get in touch.